And a part of my goal in life is to help not only undo the negative things that have been done to us as people, but also to undo the learning that some of us have internalized. And so the idea that you all refer to each other as scholars, I want to commend you because that's an act of resistance against people, forces, and energies that don't want you to be intelligent. There are forces in this world that say you should not want to own your own business. You should not want to go to college. You should not love your brother and sister. You should not do anything positive. The forces in this world are saying, hey, we want you to hate the skin that you're in. We want you to hurt the people that look like you. We want you to not want to make your community better. If you don't take away anything else that I say today, I want each of you to take away that all of you, two things. One, all of you are holistically great. Two, you have multiple purposes in life. So a lot of times people will say, I'm looking to fulfill one purpose in life. When I was younger, my purpose in life was to make the NBA. Well, now that I'm older, I'm like, well, not only do it make an NBA, that's not the only thing. I want to impact change in the world. I want to own an NBA team, right? Like I don't want to just play on the team. I want to own a team. I want to foster more Black businesses. I want to build my own school. So my dreams became bigger when I started to realize that I was holistically great. And I have multiple purposes in life. You don't just have one purpose. You're destined. You can name multiple people in your life, family and friends. You have multiple purposes that you fill in their lives. So never sell yourself short. The only person who can determine whether you're going to be great or not is yourself. If you say, hey, I'm not great, I would even argue, even if you tell yourself that, you're lying to yourself, or you bought into a lie that somebody else told you.
I'm Gabriel Medina. I'm in 7th grade. I go to the John D. O'Brien. And my question is, what made you decide to research sports and racism, and how does it benefit you?
To answer your question, Gabe, the reason why I research activism is because I'm very disturbed by what's going on in the world, and I am committed to changing it. And as long as I have breath in my body, I'm going to use every resource and do everything I can to change it. So the race, sport, and activism are the areas that I'm most passionate about. And I encourage all of you, whatever areas you're passionate about in life, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's law, whether it's politics, whether it's healthcare, social work, whether it's architecture, engineering, whatever it is, you use your platform to ignite positive change. Everything you do matters. Everything you do and don't do matter. That's another bullet point I want y'all to take away from today. Remember, you're holistically great. You have multiple purposes. Everything you do matters. What you say and what you don't say, it matters. What you do and what you don't do, it matters. So your actions and your inactions, or your lack of actions, it changes the world every day. With the systemic issues, I encourage you all to think about it in multiple ways. One, what locally is something that impacts you the most directly? So think about within your schools, within your communities, what are something locally, like within your day-to-day life, that you're like, hey, if this could be improved, I think that this could lead to positive outcomes for me and for other people in my community. Once you find those, whatever the issue is locally, identify it, research it, organize, engage in action, and stay with it. Don't give up. Don't give up. If it was that easy to fix, it would have already been fixed by now. So some of this stuff is going to require commitment. But think about in the school year when you all are working hard in class, some of the concepts you learn in math, history, English, science, some of them you're not going to learn the first time you try it, right? Some of them you gotta read it again. You gotta try it again, and you gotta repeat it again. My basketball coach used to always tell us, none of you are great until you do something great over and over and over and over and over and over again. If I made a nice move on the court, coach would be like, all right, you all right. And I'd be like, well, coach, that was a hot move. Like, come on, show me love. He's like, no, do it over and over and over and over again. And I'm like, dang, coach, I got to keep doing it. He's like, yeah, you got to keep doing it. And that's the same way you got to approach being great within yourself. It's not just a one-time thing. You got to do it over again and do it better again and do it better again, right? And then once again, always making time to recharge and to take care of personal refueling, have a balance, make sure you do things that make you happy. Don't get so caught up in pursuing a goal that you burn yourself out, because that's something that happens to a lot of us as well. As it pertains to systemic change, I want to give you all one math question to think about. So it's been dated, even though some people and the facts can be, we can do more research to figure out, but let's just use the year 1619. Some of you all may have seen the 1619 Project. It's a great kind of documentary of the history of enslaved people who are African. I hope that none of you refer to Black people as slaves. Just because people were subjected to slavery doesn't mean that they were slaves. I want you to think about this. From 1619 to 1676, when the country was founded, so that's over 150 years, Black people were enslaved. They weren't allowed to read. They were pretty much controlled and dominated. So that's when the country was founded in 1776. From 1776 to 1865, nearly almost another 100 years. So we're talking about almost 250 years now. Black people still were treated as not citizens. We couldn't vote. We couldn't read legally. We were pretty much treated like animals and like less than human. 1865, the Emancipation Proclamation is signed. 13th Amendment and 15th Amendment, which abolish slavery, give us some level of citizenship in 1865. But from 1865 all the way till 1964, nearly another 100 years, in the 1960s, when many of your grandparents and parents were growing, or at least were growing up, we still didn't have equal rights. So you had to fight. So for over 300 plus years, now we get into the 21st century, Black people haven't had full rights in the United States. So not only does that mean from a material standpoint that we're not going to have the same level of success, not because we don't work hard, not because we're not smart enough, not because we're not capable, but because through policies and certain things that were done, we're in this situation. So from 1964 to now, which is still less than 100 years, if you do the math, I want you all to always remember 1619, 1776, 1865, 1964, and then you could pick whatever year you want to pick now, 2020. That is a very long time of unchecked, horrific atrocities and oppression against a group of people. That's a very long time. So when you look at all that Black people have accomplished in this country, in spite of all of that, that is the utmost version of human excellence. When you have the weight of a group of an entire country that's denying you rights, that's tearing apart your families, that's doing all that, and you still have the ability to educate yourselves, to support your families, to build communities, even after they tear the communities down. Research the Tulsa riots and the Wilmington riots in the early 1920s and in the 1960s. Research them and see how they tore them down. People built them right back up. That's the resilience of our people. So the reason why I wanted to end on that note is we're talking about something that has been going on for centuries, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. So the question becomes, what we're fighting for is to change that trajectory so that the next hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years are nothing like what those hundreds and hundreds of years were, right? So just be patient with, I don't want you to be patient in the sense of don't do anything, but I want you to recognize that this isn't something that happened overnight. And so it's not going to change overnight, but the only way that it certainly will change is if everybody on this call is committed to doing that, and more of us are committed to doing that. That's the only way it will change. It's not going to change because the people who were doing it all of a sudden are going to say, well, hey, let's stop treating Black people poorly. I've kind of come to my senses. We're going to make it better. That's not how it's going to change. It's going to change because everybody on this call, regardless of your race, regardless of your religion, any of that, zip code, because you say, I'm committed to a better world than the world that was created before me. That's the only way that it's going to change. So just keep all that in mind, but I'll end right there. All you young scholars, keep up the great work. I look forward to seeing your success, your progress on all fronts. You're holistically great. You have multiple purposes in life. And I know that the actions that each of you will utilize will change the root causes that you're learning about. So thank you all for being committed to it. You all inspire all of us who work with you each and every day. As long as y'all don't give up, I'm not going to give up. As long as I don't give up, y'all don't give up. We will not give up.